From Australia to America, we're traveling the globe to get you up to speed on news. I'm Carl Azuz. This is CNN 10. We're happy to have you watching. While parts of the United States were shivering under record cold temperatures last week, Australia, both of its territories and all 6 of its states, were sweltering under a record heat wave. And in the northeastern state of Queensland, days of intense rainfall have caused the kind of flooding that officials say happens only once every 100 years. Townsville is a city on Australia's northeast coast. More than 190,000 people live here. Its city council says it gets more than 300 days of sunshine every year. But the massive downpours that have hit Townsville recently have put a major strain on a nearby dam. On Sunday night, the Ross River Dam was at about 250% of its capacity, and its floodgates had to be opened to prevent the structure from collapsing. Australian officials warned people in Townsville that historic flooding would happen as a result, and some residents who'd reportedly thought they'd be okay have had to climb to their roofs for safety. And it's not just the floodwaters that are dangerous. 9 News reports that there have been several sightings of crocodiles and snakes that have been carried along in the floods. And while you're about to get a sense of the ongoing rescue effort, relief from the rain is nowhere in sight. A CNN meteorologist predicted that Townsville would receive another 4 inches on Monday and 2 to 3 inches on Tuesday. Entire neighborhoods are underwater, and thousands of homes were in danger of flooding and strong winds that are in the forecast.
For thousands of residents of Townsville, it has been a long day and plenty more to come. I'm standing here at the Ross River. This right now at Rossley is where the water is coming from the river, which has made its way down the dam at a rapid pace, heading right across. You can see when we have a look at the water how fast it is still moving and making its way right into the suburb of Rossley, which locals are considering to be ground zero in what has been this flood emergency. On the other side of where I'm standing is the suburb of Annandale, where a number of properties, as you see, are completely inundated on the ground floor. We've seen helicopters that are constantly checking for people who are there, trying to pluck them to safety. We also know the swift water rescue teams have been out and about. So far, at least a dozen rescues, probably even more overnight as well. So a huge effort right across Townsville. This all started last night. Of course, the rain has been building up for days, but the Ross River Dam, about 10 kilometres as the crow flies from where I'm standing at the moment, it opened automatically. The dam gates opened because it reached about 43 metres. At that stage, it's built into the dam that it needed to open up to let out some of that water to maintain the integrity of the dam. As that happened, the velocity of the water, 2,000 cubic metres per second, was released. It's headed straight down the river, trying to find its way to the ocean, cutting a straight line through suburbs like this one in Rossley. Now, the Queensland Premier defending the actions of all emergency services and saying it's a tough time for those people living in Townsville.
The U.S. President's annual State of the Union address is Tuesday night. It had originally been scheduled for last Tuesday, but it was postponed because of the U.S. government's partial shutdown. When that ended late last month, the address was rescheduled. One issue that President Donald Trump is expected to address is the major reason for the shutdown: security at America's southern border with Mexico. The Pentagon announced this week that an additional 3,750 American troops would be deployed to the border. Their mission: to give extra support to U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents. This could include assignments like installing wire fencing and watching for illegal crossings. The deployment would bring the total number of U.S. military forces there to 4,350, and the new mission is scheduled to last for 3 months. President Trump says this is necessary to stop large caravans of people who are headed to the border with the goal of entering the U.S. illegally. But U.S. Representative Adam Smith, a Democrat from Washington and the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, questioned what the additional troops would be doing at the border and suggested the increase could be unjustified. On Wednesday's show, we plan to bring you some highlights of the Republican president's speech and the Democratic Party's response. You'll find it right here at CNN10.com. 10-second trivia. American inventor Philo Farnsworth is best known for his development of what? Telegraph, telephone, television, or telescope? In the late 1920s, Farnsworth demonstrated his invention of the electronic television system. A famous story about Philo Farnsworth is that he grew up in a house that didn't have electricity until he was a teenager. So going from that to presenting the first electronic TV within a few years, well, it shows how Farnsworth had chosen the right field. Of course, the TV itself has changed a lot over the decades, but it's still a fixture in roughly 95% of American homes, and a growing number of the ones that don't have TVs are still watching programs on other kinds of screens. Will the screen itself eventually become obsolete?
So we're surrounded by screens. They're how we entertain ourselves. But how we'll watch them, the form factor, is changing too. The size, the shape, and even the idea of needing a screen at all is evolving.
I think one of the big changes we're just going to see over the next decade is that we're going to start to have intelligent conversations with inanimate objects.
Is it going to be on a gaming console? Is it going to be in everything?
It's going to be in everything.
Keeker, a French startup, thinks your future entertainment system will look like this. It's a projector, sound system, and security system rolled into one.
So Keeker is kind of like an obedient dog.
That's right.
With some bells and whistles.
Bells and whistles, and just really useful, in the sense that it can be there to give you your music, your TV experience, and it can be away if you don't want to see it.
Keeker's designed to do a lot, but it isn't perfect yet.
Hey Keeker, come to the living room. Hey Keeker, show me the weather. Keeker, stop moving, please. This is like a petulant version of the Amazon Echo. You have to say it over and over and over, but instead of Alexa, I'm saying Keeker. But you think there may be a day when Keeker replaces the TV?
I think the TV has to be replaced by something because it's just too old. Like the voice assistants, it's all about learning and trying to be better, to serve you better, as opposed to just be a blank plastic, display.
Turning TVs into something more than just a black box is a challenge lots of companies are tackling. Some are making screens more flexible, or getting rid of them entirely. Others are designing screens to blend in.
This isn't a painting behind me. It's actually a TV. It's called The Frame and it's made by Samsung. Now when the TV is off, Samsung provides hundreds of pieces of art that can be displayed, but you can also add your own. And you can even change the color of the frame itself.
But what if your screen could actually talk to you?
Some of the biggest advances we're going to see in home entertainment are going to be virtual reality headsets coming into the home. We're going to make a big difference, augmented reality systems, and then also artificially intelligent characters that start to become part of games and other experiences.
So you would be talking then to like a character in one of your games about something that you're watching?
Instead of kind of saying, hey, television, pull up video number 3, you can just say, hey, Sydney, what do you think we should watch next? And then the character will have some suggestions, and the two of you will have a conversation.
When these technologies get good enough, do you foresee a day when screens just completely disappear?
It's sort of like, did television kill radio? I think just like AR is going to replace some screen applications, screens are going to survive and hang in there.
So what will we be watching in the future? We're not exactly sure. I guess we'll just have to stay tuned.
Golden, Colorado, golden retrievers. Coincidence? No, not at this gathering in the Centennial State. It's called the Goldens in Golden Gala. It was held on National Golden Retriever Day. It brought together animals from all dog walks of life, and it might have set a record too. There were reportedly about 1,000 golden retrievers and their owners here. A previous record in Scotland brought around 361 dogs. So for fans of Goldens, the idea was pure gold. But if they can have Goldens in Golden, can someone host Airedales in Adairville, Bassets in Bassett, Bostons in Boston, Chihuahuas in Chihuahua, Collies in Colleyville, Labradors in Labrador, Maltese in Malta, Papillons in Papillon, Terriers in Terre Haute, or Yorkies in Yorkshire? That'll give them something to yap about. And it takes a bite out of another edition of CNN 10. I'm Carl Azuz.